Alright, hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. Creating torque. What does that mean? How does it happen? What's the proper way? So, here's the torque. And I'm going to run you guys through how I created it, why we created it, what it's going to be used for, what you might be able to use it for, and I'm going to compare it to some other discs that have been my signature discs, other discs I've helped design, and kind of walk you guys through what is kind of the goal for this and when you can expect it to come out, number one. So this disc is already out on infinitedisc.com. Make sure to go check it out. Also, you can go to some of your local retailers and hopefully they have it in stock as well. And if they don't, please promote them to support Finish Line and buy buy from us wholesale, because very good deals, helps me, helps grow the sport, helps the brand. Hopefully next year we're able to sponsor more events and do more big things. So when it comes to the torque, sorry for my mouth, my ears are kind of clogged. I've kind of been fighting off like a little bit of a cold. So if I'm doing that, it's not because I'm doing drugs, it's because I'm a little under the weather. So just a fair warning. So here we have the torque. We have a Raptor. So I'll just show you guys all in one little whoop here. So we have the torque on the top, the Raptor, a KC Pro T-Bird, a Phantom Warrior, which is like a rival, which is like a T-Bird from Legacy Discs, and then the very bottom here we have a Scepter, which is my signature disc through Infinite Disc. So if I turn them this way, you might be able to see that all these discs are relatively similar in profile and width and speed. So one of the things that I made sure that we kind of changed when it came to designing the torque was that for me, for backhand, I like a little bit more dome. So here you can see this disc has a little bit of dome on it, which is what if it's, I'm holding the disc like this, my thumb out here in the middle, right kind of where the rim gets soft, is where I'm holding it. And then, so what we designed, what the goal was, what we wanted to create was a disc that flies like a Raptor or a new T-Bird or a Phantom Warrior or a Scepter, which all of these, again, you can get at infinitedisc.com, but had a better feel in my hand, took up a little bit more space because it's a little thicker, has a little more dome to it, and it just overall feels really good in my hand. So with this disc, what you're going to get is, again, you're going to get a little bit straighter of a Scepter, you're going to get a little more stable and a little more distance than the Phantom Warrior, you're going to get much more wind resistance than the T-Bird here. So similar feel, again, I'll show you these two discs next to each other. Pretty similar on the feel here. You can see that the torque has a little bit more of a indentation in the wing and a little bit more of a bead here on the rim, which is inherently going to make it more stable. But overall, the feel is going to be really similar because these two discs are about the same dome. And again, this disc, same kind of profile here. But what you're going to get with the torque is a little bit more speed, and you're going to get much more reliability in the wind. If you were to throw this, obviously this has been in my bag and it's pretty beat up, but if you were to get a brand new one of this run T-Bird, I'm not saying every single T-Bird is like this, but this KC Pro, Avery Jenkins, Dave Feldberg, myself, a lot of the old school Innova guys had thrown and had and loved these. With this disc, what you're going to get is a lot of the same play, but when the wind kicks up to 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, this is going to continue to be reliable and fly very good. So where this, I started to have to go to a Scepter or to a Firebird to get kind of that same flight out of this because it's a little less wind resistant. And then here we have the Raptor, which was partially my inspiration for this disc. All these discs were. Many, the Thunderbird, the PD, a lot of discs were my inspiration for the torque. But the Raptor, obviously, we all know what it does. Most of you have probably thrown it. Most of you have probably enjoyed it. This Raptor has my name on it. It's beat up. I've thrown this thing in tournaments and practice rounds and a lot of things. And I really enjoy it. Me being a predominantly backhand player, the one thing I don't always enjoy is how flat this disc is. I mean, you could see here the disc is like board flat. Here you can see this disc has some curve to it, has a dome. So for me, throwing backhand and having control, I like the feel of a domier disc. So what you're going to get, this is a little bit slower than the Raptor. But with the feel I get from it is going to create me to have just more control. So the thing is a lot of us, you know, maybe this is a little faster, so maybe if you rip on it super hard, it's going to go an extra 15, 20 feet further. Me personally, I throw the disc plenty far in order to not need to bargain for 15 or 20 feet. Excuse me. And so for me, between these two discs here, again, very popular disc, and I'm not sitting here saying, well, my disc is better. You guys, if you watch any of my reviews or any of my stuff on my channel, I try to be as unbiased as I possibly can. And I can admit that these discs here influenced this design. And I don't have a problem admitting that. We're designing discs that I want it to go straight and finish left with a right-hand backhand. There's already discs on the market that do that. So using it as inspiration isn't unbelievable. I mean, the Firebird or the Eagle was probably inspired this disc, and that's fine. And you guys who are going to say, oh, well, you're copying this or you're copying that. I mean, Bob Julio and the crew at Discraft can confirm that I didn't copy the Supra. When Bob saw the Supra, he said, wow, this is a lot different than I thought it was. People were saying it was a copy. And like, that's fine. They can think or say that. You guys can, but the people who design the discs and the people who manufacture these discs know that I'm not blatantly ripping off anybody's disc with my designs. So this disc is going to give you the benefit of all four of these discs, in my opinion, into one disc. If Marcus, you guys are familiar with him, he loves sidearm. Me, not so much, mainly because it sucks. But, you know, he throws sidearm really well, and at first, his first complaint about the torque was, oh, well, I don't really like how domey it is for my sidearm. He's been throwing at sidearm and absolutely loving it. So if you're somebody that only likes, you know, a Sexton Firebird super flat sidearm disc, maybe you try this. And I think that the reliability, the way it feels for both backhand and sidearm is going to really reward the throwing style that you choose. Again, for me, I wanted to create something that I can use in all conditions, in all speeds, at all. A lot of you guys, if you've seen me play, which I'm sure you have by now, is I like to throw sometimes a faster disc, you know, maybe this disc on a 300-foot hole, where obviously if I had to, I can throw a putter there. But I kind of like to tempo down, throw a little flex shot, like a little touch shot, maybe reminiscent of something Nico or someone like that would throw. And I like to work the disc. With me, with these discs that are a little flatter, I think it's harder for me to work them, because what happens with the flatter disc is the slower it's going, the more stable it wants to be. A lot of times people will say that a flat disc is higher speed, less stable, lower speed, overstable. So for me, trying to throw a disc that I can get out there 450 feet or so and trying to get it to go 150 feet short of that, that low speed overstability really starts to take over. So for me, when we designed this disc, I wanted that little bit of dome. I wanted to really create something that could be thrown at full power and be resistant and go left, which this disc does. But I also wanted to create a disc that at low speeds, the little bit of dome would let it be a little bit less stable relative to a super flat fairway driver and give you that little bit of glide and push forward so you don't have to throw this disc as hard as you can every single time. For most players, and I've done a lot of clinics and lessons and stuff like that, they pick their Scepter or their Firebird or their Raptor or whatever super flat overstable disc, and if they don't throw it perfect and on the right angle and with a bunch of speed and spin, it kind of will just tend to come out of the air. So with this disc, my design idea was to actually design something that will fly even if you're not throwing it optimal. Because honestly, I like to throw unoptimal. You know, every single disc has its perfect speed and spin and all of that stuff to make it do what the flight numbers say. You know, for example, the Raptor here is a 9.403 2.1. So whatever all those numbers mean, there's an ideal flight and an ideal spin for it to actually accomplish those numbers. I wanted to create a disc that competes with that flies the same as that on tour I can use to replace that or my Scepter, but you as an amateur player or as a player that doesn't have obviously as much arm speed as me or be able to have as much spin control as me can still use this disc, can still put it in your bag, and can still get really good results. So overall, the Finish Line Disc Torque is out right now on infinitedisc.com. Make sure to try one. Make sure to give it a fair chance. Take it out here. Like I said, I would be confident in taking it out against all these discs that are some of the most proven. I mean, the Scepter, proven. Phantom Warrior, they don't make it anymore. This is a legacy disc that they made for me when I was part of the team. But people still message me asking me for these discs. So, of course, the T-Bird, one of the most iconic discs in the game. And then the Raptor between Ezra and Yuli and Brody and all these great Discraft players. Adam and AB, has been a staple in everybody's bag. I think what I've done here is I've created a disc, the Torque, that can handle all of those discs in one, has all the benefits, and is reliably controllable, which is, again, how many people that are watching this, have AB's arm speed or AB's skill or AB's talent or AB's anything? I mean, I don't even think I do. So when I'm creating these discs for Finish Line discs, I'm trying my very best to create something that's reliable and usable. So this disc for me, you're going to see this disc on tour, but also hopefully at your local league, you're going to be able to get plenty of birdies. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one.